Hi, I'm Jack Canfield, and welcome back to another segment of Talking About Success. I'm here with a wonderful guest today, Sheila Collins, who has written a wonderful book called Warrior Mother. It's an award-winning book with a great subtitle, Fierce Love, Unbearable Loss, and Rituals That Heal. And we've talked before we came on air today, and I know what an amazing woman you are and what you've had to face some really tough challenges in life and how you've transcended that. And her book contains wisdom gained from a number of careers as a professional dancer, a social work professor, a family therapist, and now also a performance artist. We were talking about improvisational theater before.
Right.
I love it. So I want to ask you, what has put you on this personal mission of dealing with illness and loss? What got you? What's the why behind why you do what you do now?
Well, there was an experience that I had when my son was ill. He had been diagnosed with AIDS, and at that time it was a death sentence, although he was determined to keep going and keep doing it. And I was with my women's group, and they were supporting me. So I was wanting to be there for them. That's the warrior mother part. But then they were there for me. And I had this experience where I was wanting to share some music, and I was dancing to this music. And I happened, the corner of my eye, looked over and I saw his picture, because we always put whoever we're praying for up on the altar, kind of, So, and I just grabbed it and I started dancing with his picture. So when I was over, and it was very satisfying to do that. It was just, when it was finished, this woman said to me, "Well, you've just demonstrated my religion." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, I'm a Sufi, and I've been taught that whatever life hands you, you pick it up and dance with it." And that really changed my life. I mean, that notion, which is a very simple notion, but the notion of accepting whatever is coming and then work it into your life. So I think that got me started on wanting to share some of the tools that I had discovered, or some of the wisdom that I had received from that whole journey.
I love that, because I actually went to a Sufi 10-day training once, and we danced and we did all that stuff. But this idea of embracing it rather than resisting it, and then dancing it, letting it, embodying it, moving it through, expressing it, not being stuck. Most people, when they grieve, they sit and they don't move. It's really beautiful. Thank you for that. So why was it so important to you to write about and now speak about these experiences going through this with your children?
Well, I think it was probably my social work brain that wanted, I discovered all these things and I had all these experiences. I also was frankly very proud of my children and how they lived their lives. As my daughter's physician said, it wasn't how she handled her disease, it was how she handled her life. And that was true, it was inspiring. So I wanted other people to know that. I wanted to write that story, and it took a while for me to develop the skills to be able to write it as a story and make it come alive on the page.
Now you talked, just want to clarify for our viewers, you talked about your son with AIDS. Your daughter had breast cancer.
Right.
And I think you also had a friend that died very soon after
very
that as
best.
well. It's kind of a 1, 2, 3 punch, really difficult situation.
Right.
So in your research, as you did this work and you're writing about it and you're speaking about it, I know you came up with what you might consider some misunderstandings about grief and loss. Talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. And people would say things like, "Well, I could never survive the loss of a child," or "You never get over it," or these kind of expressions that you've heard people say.
Sure.
And the reality is, of course, you never get over it. It becomes a part of who you are. It's like, my son is still with me. I'm still, he's still, that relationship is still important in terms of what I learned from him. And I think that we sometimes have the wrong goal, really. It isn't to get over it. It's to weave it into the life that you have now.
So part of your subtitle is Rituals That Heal.
Yes.
So I want to ask you to talk about, how did you move through this? What are some of the things that helped you move through this grief and this loss? I assume some of those are the rituals you write about in your book.
Absolutely. Well, I was very lucky to have some tools from an art improvisational system that I teach, and one of them, for example, is that you can sing something. Maybe you can't speak it, but maybe you can sing it. And I was pretty shy about doing that, but I could do it in the shower. And so I would get in the shower and I would sing to the universe, and I would, and it was, and eventually I got to where I could do that. I did do that in a group with people holding the energy in the space for me to do it. And when that happened, the song changed. So it became, instead of, what good could come from this, it was like this very deep, what I was in a bad mood, and then it just kind of changed into good will come from this. Good will come from this. And it did. And it was just...
So just in the process of singing it, what good can come from this? Good will come from it. It just transitioned.
It changed.
It something in you just kind of flowed out.
It changed.
And you heard that message.
It changed.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It is true that anything we participate with automatically starts to evolve. I love that. It gets us out of being stuck.
Absolutely.
That's way cool.
I had another experience where I was teaching a seminar at the social work conference, and it was social work and spirituality, and they had a labyrinth in the gymnasium, and it was down on the floor in the gymnasium, and it's the labyrinth is it's a walking meditation. So you walk into the center, and then when you're in the center, you give up whatever it is you want to let go of, and then we walk out. So what I did, I said, I give my daughter into the hands of God. That's what I said, And then I walked back around, out, and as I got to the edge of the gymnasium floor, there was this voice that said, "We are the hands of God." And it was true. I mean, we know that what we do for each other is really a part of all of that, but
Yes.
it was such a reality, and going through that ritual was what brought that out for me.
I love it. It reminds me of a story I wrote in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. There was, during World War II, there was a church in Germany, and it was bombed, and there was a statue of Christ in front of the church, and his hands were blown off. And after the war, when they were rebuilding the church, they decided, they had a committee, should we, who's going to sculpt the hands and put them back on? They actually decided not to put the hands back on. And they put a little saying at the bottom of the statue, I don't remember the exact words, it was something like, we are the hands of God. We are the ones that have to do God's work.
Right.
It's beautiful. I love it. What's so beautiful about universal truths is they come in a million different ways, but they're always that same message. I love it. That's so sweet. There are many kind of losses, many kind of tough challenges we face. It's not just the loss of a child or the loss of a friend or a parent, but it could be the loss of anything or any challenge. I call it the tough stuff. Like we wrote a book, Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, on the tough stuff.
Oh, yes.
And dealing with the tough stuff. So what have you found that you could say, if someone's watching this, maybe they haven't lost a child, but they're dealing with a tough issue, what advice would you give to someone when they're dealing with the tough stuff?
Well, I think, first of all, we sort of believe sometimes that if we just do everything right, nothing bad is ever going to happen. I mean, just like, what is the matter with us? When we think that.
Those kind of things don't happen to people like us.
I mean, really.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I'm such a loyal person here. I'm working so hard.
Right.
So it really helps to not, to not think those kinds of thoughts, and to recognize that loss is it's common. It happens all the time, and there are different kinds of losses, and so there's therefore different ways that we need to help to heal. But I think one of the things I would say is that it's important to reach out to other people. That when I think there's often a feeling of shame that, I must have done something wrong if this is happening to me, whether it's my job or they're downsizing at my work, or immediately blaming ourselves when we're really not that powerful. I mean, and so if there's a way to let people, we have to be careful who we let into some of our lives, but I think basically people, it's a common thing, and we have gone through losses, and we will go through many more.
So know that it's not a terrible thing. You're not an evil person. You're not
Right.
being punished. It's just what is. Life happens, as you say.
Right, yeah.
And to be willing to acknowledge that and to not be ashamed of it, not hide it, reach out to other people,
Yeah.
ask for help. Wonderful. I wish we could talk for hours. I find you very fascinating, and I love you. Great person. So if people want to find out more about your work, where would they go?
Well, I'm easy to find on the website, I think, because my website is my name, Sheila, Sheilak, Collins, Collins, and my email address is the same at gmail.com.
Sheila K. Collins at gmail.com. Now you're going to get a lot of email.
I hope so.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And the book again is Warrior
Mother.
Mother.
Warrior Mother. Fierce love, unbearable loss, and the rituals that heal.
Well, I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much. And I know that I'm looking forward to reading your book. And, there's been a lot of loss in my family. I've lost both parents. My brother died last year. I've lost, may seem insignificant, but I've lost 2 cats and a dog in the last year.
Oh, yes.
And those are huge losses as
They
well.
are.
So I'm looking forward to reading your book. If you would like to get in touch with her, go to her website, send her an email, get her book, Warrior Mother. We'll be right back after this.